Good afternoon, great. This is our third attempt at creating this second video presentation on hazards and disasters. Remember, the presentation is to help us through the handout that we are going through. And we had already done the first part that dealt with flooding and droughts. So we're going to be dealing with hurricanes and earthquakes in this section. Make sure you read the handout. Do not solely rely on this feature. I may not get a chance to complete all of it, especially the section with earthquake. However, it is important you have the handout, so it is important that you spend the time to read it. However, I'll go through with it as best as I can with you. The areas that I highlight on the video are the areas that you're supposed to underline or highlight on your hard copy of the handout. All right. So let me start by sharing my screen. Share screen. There you go. So we're going to, as you have seen right here, I had already this year suggested that I was making the presentation before, and due to circumstances, those two attempts had to be aborted. So we begin with hurricanes. So this is the third of the four natural hazards that this handout covers. A hurricane is an intensive tropical storm. The Caribbean, the hurricane season runs from June 1 to July 30 each year. Hurricane can come at any time during this period. This period is called the hurricane season. Hurricanes are very dangerous and should not be treated lightly. So in this first paragraph, what you see me underline here, highlight here, is what you underline. So underline that first sentence, then you pick it up at the season begins, the hurricane season begins and ends here. The hurricane season, a hurricane can start at any time this period. So this period is called hurricane season. Hurricanes are very dangerous. So you do all of that. You do all of that. So you underline. Remember, it is the first sentence, and then from the hurricane season, you underline all of that. Highlight that. All right. Good. Now, at the bottom of your page, I want you to make an addition for me. So anecdote. Right. And I want you, no, that's not, I want text, right? And I want you to write down here the following sentences for me. All right, so you're going to write it below on your handout. So I'm going to write the following now. In the Atlantic region, these major, sorry, not these, the Atlantic regions, major, TROP, tropical storms are called hurricanes. Tropical storms also occur in the ACI Pacific region and depending on the ARE area, they are either called TYPAOO typhoons, example, India or AN Bangladesh, and cyclones. Example, sorry, Australia. So I'm sure that you write this at the bottom of your handout in this area exactly that I have. Okay. All right. So what we are going to do now is that, so when you have finished writing this, you can stop the video at this point and write the information. When you are finished, then we can go to the next paragraph. All right, guys. So I'm going to now go to the next paragraph. All right, so it says now, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. So we are in this paragraph now. How are tropical or hurricanes form? Don't pay this blue right in your mind. This is what should have been at the bottom, but because of how the system is set up. So this is what you would have already written. This blue writing you would have already written. All right, so you can ignore. All right. So how are hurricanes form? It all begins with an air of unsettled weather. This is caused when air which remains still over warm ocean water for some time absorbs some of the heat and begins to rise. Air from all around rushes in to replace that which is rising, and the area of unsettled weather. Such areas are called depression. So you're going to underline this form, it begins with an area of unsettled weather. Underline that. This is caused when air remains still over warm ocean water. The stop at water right there. Then you pick it up at this point here. Ocean water absorb the heat. Underline a sentence. It absorbs some of the heat and begins to rise. Continue to underline. Air from all around rushes into a place which is rising, and the air has to wait again. Bigger such areas called tropical. So underline that. Right? All right, wonderful. So this diagram now basically gives us an idea of what we just read. So this cloud-like thing here, image here, represents tropical depression. All right, so the hot air comes from off West Africa, which will be West Africa will be right around here. It comes off from off West Africa. That's air. Flows over the warm ocean, Atlantic Ocean water. That air heats up, begins to rise. As it rises, then the cold air around it rushes in to take the place that the hot air is from. It also warms up and rises. And as the air continues to rise and others replace and rise, then they form clouds and give us what we call tropical depression. So tropical depressions form off the coast of the west coast of Africa and move towards the west and northwest of the Caribbean Bay. All right. And then this depression, the one that moves across here, see the arrows there, this depression becomes storms or hurricanes. All right. Let's move along. Go to the next paragraph. These depressions usually form off the coast of West Africa. They get their energy from the warm ocean waters over which they move. They pick up wind speed as they travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Clouds get thicker and the rainfall gets heavier. They then become well-defined systems with a highest wind moving around a center of a calm off center. This center is called the eye of the hurricane. Because of the rotation of the earth and the wind system, the depressions move towards the west or northwest. This movement usually sees the depression or its development. Tropical storms or hurricanes move towards the Caribbean islands, Central America, Mexico, the southern states of the United States of America. So not much here for you to underline. Don't want to confuse you. So this is what we are going to underline. The depressions usually form off the coast of West Africa. This is very important. All right. They get their energy from ocean water. Underline that. They pick up speed as they travel across the Atlantic Ocean. Clouds get thicker, rainfall gets heavier. So that phrase there, clouds get thicker, rainfall gets heavier, is very important for you to remember. So if you're listening to your radio, you're watching your television, and you hear the weather forecast, the meteorologist say that Jamaica will be impacted by an area of unsettled weather, or there's a tropical depression moving across the central Caribbean region and will impact Jamaica within the next 24 hours, 2 days, whatever. But I think that you must bear in mind, important that you bear in mind, is that with this area of unsettled weather, or with this tropical depression, you are going to get a lot of rainfall. Rainfall is key to flooding. All right. So you do not disassociate flooding from area of unsettled weather. Do not disassociate flooding from area of tropical depression. They are connected. We continue. They, they're going to underline all. They, underline that, underline this now, become well-defined systems with the highest wind moving around a center, a calm of center. And this calm of center is called the eye of hurricane. You underline that. All right. Then you're going to underline the depressions move towards the west or northwest. Sure that you underline that. Then you're going to underline all of this. This movement, that is the tropical depression, usually, so this movement usually sees depression or its development to the tropical storms or hurricane move towards the Caribbean. Right? I stop at Caribbean because that's where we are. But the rest of the sentence tells us that Central America, Mexico, all of the Caribbean base, all right, including the southern United States, as far as Texas, all right. So underline that. Good. So what we're going to do now is that we are going to, so right here now you have a chart that gives you, I want you to spend the time to study the chart. A chart that gives you the wind speed, so the categories of hurricane and their wind speed. So this is what I want you to do. You have category 1, category 2, 3, 4, and 5. There's no higher category than category 5. There's no category 6. So if the wind speed goes to 1,000 miles or 1,000 kilometers, it is still category 5. There may be need to change that later on in the future as systems get more dangerous and bigger. All right, so what I now need you to do on your handout is that where you see category 1, all right, you just underline, and you're going to do this for all the categories. Underline all of the wind speed. So you're going to do that for this one, you're going to do it for this one, you're going to do it for this one, you're going to do it for this one, and this one. And then when you have finished underlining the wind speed for all of these, then over on the type of damage due to hurricane wind, you're going to underline very dangerous winds, produce some damage. That's what you underline for category 1. For category 2, you're going to underline extremely dangerous winds, and they're going to underline cause extensive damage. That's category 2. For category 3, you underline all of this. Devastating damage will occur. Category 4, catastrophic damage will occur. Category 5, catastrophic damage will occur. So if, for example, in a tri-weekly test or an assignment or in your exam, you were to say a question that asks, which category storm produces very dangerous winds? Don't tell me category 1. Or which category storm produces extremely dangerous winds? All right, you're going to produce the outer category 2. However, if I were to ask you which category hurricane tells me that they produce devastating damage, you're going to tell me 3. And when it comes to catastrophic damage, you're going to tell me 4 or 5. That's why the wind speed is important. All right. So let's look at now, how do we prepare for a hurricane? This section is very important. How do we prepare for a hurricane? Number 1, what you see me highlight is what you underline on handout. You button down windows and doors. Number 2, you check roof sheetings. Make sure that they are securely fastened. So you underline check roof sheetings, right? Underline, make sure they are securely fastened. Okay. Number 3, store at least 3 days supply of water. Underline that. Number 4, stock emergency supplies of food to last 4 or 5 days. Now, I pause here for a second to just bring your attention to Melissa. Now, at the recording of this video, we are entering our third week, we are entering our 4th week since the passing of Hurricane Melissa. 3rd week, 3 or 4 weeks since the passing of Hurricane Melissa. So the 4 or 5 days supply of emergency food will no longer be practicable. All right. So the recommendation is that if you can stock up on more days of food, you do so. All right. You also to remember, I'm not highlighting this. I think you know this off the top of your head. You remember that you must have your electrical supplies will most likely be cut off. So you have to get flashlight. So ensure you get flashlight, get candle, get lamps, kerosene, oil, and battery. All right. And so you underline that. And you see I have an image there. When it comes to the hurricane season, once it touches June 1, put your list together. Start putting, as a matter of fact, don't even wait until the hurricane season starts. Start putting together your hurricane list and making sure you fulfill that list as this fellow here. Better get prepared for this hurricane. And if you look at this list, you'll see flashlight, lamp, food, hammer, nail, saw, machete, drinking water. You don't have here, but water boot is also important. All right, I made sure I got mine. So we're at number 5. So number 5 now say you have to trim trees near building. Underline that one. Trim trees near building. Remove livestock to higher ground. That is important. Underline that. People should keep away from low-lying flood-prone areas. Make sure you underline that also. This is very important. Wrap important documents in plastic and store in a safe place. All right, moving along. If you're, all right, so if, underline if, your house is unsafe, stay with friend or relatives. So underline the if. Your house is unsafe, stay with friends and relatives. And then number 9 says, if the hurricane hits, remain inside. Do not go outside. Do not be like the gentleman in Gilbert and another one right here in Melissa when the eye of the storm came. And I should have spoken a little bit about the eye. But when the eye of the storm came, they went out there to batten down their roof. And the other side of the storm came and took them off, roof and everything. They both died. To stay inside. Do not go out at the first sign of calm. If you must go to attend to an emergency, watch out, because in a short while the wind will continue to blow from the opposite side. All right. All right. And then that over here is an activity. I'm not at this point. I'm not going to stress you with the activity. All right. But I'd like to go back here. There's a sentence here that I'd like us to. I'm going to highlight and talk about it. says here, that's the clouds get heavier, the highest wind, the clouds get heavier, they become well-defined systems with a highest wind moving across the center of calm. This is the sentence I'm looking for. The center is called the eye of hurricane. The eye of the hurricane. The eye of the hurricane is very, very, very calm. So while everything else around is tearing down, if the eye passes over you, you can look up, you're going to see, if it happens in the night, you're going to see clear sky, stars. If the moon is out, you're going to see the moon. This is the day, you're going to see bright sunshine. But it is deceptive. Grade 8, it is deceptive. Because as soon as the eye passes over, then the other side of the hurricane will come. All right. Now the hurricane is surrounded by what we call an eye wall. I'm going to ask you to go online and look up what we call the eye wall. All right. In the recent hurricane, Melissa, for example, we are talking about, the eye wall was packing wind speed of 185 miles per hour. That's why the devastation in St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland and Hanover and most of St. James was so bad because they were in the eye wall, all right, packing wind of 150 kilometers. We on this side of the devastated area, or here in Clarendon and St. Catherine and Kingston, all right, we didn't get hurricane force wind. Well, that's not true. We got hurricane force wind here in Clarendon and St. Catherine. That was like category 2 or category 3. Persons who are in St. Thomas and Kingston, they got high tropical storm force wind. But can you imagine if the Melissa had landed down Rocky Point area below us there? Can you imagine the devastation after what you see in St. Elizabeth, Lower St. Manchester, Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James would have been what would have taken place this side. So we were spared. All right. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention and encourage you to go online and look at what the eye wall is, read up on it. All right. So that brings us to the end of the hurricane. What we want to look at now is the earthquake. So this is the fourth and final natural disaster that we want to look at. An earthquake is a sudden, very strong shaking in the ground. It can happen at any time, and there is no warning. The earth is made up of what geologists call tectonic plates. There are 7 major plates, along with smaller ones, that cover the earth. 7 plates are the African plate. We're talking the major plates. 7 major plates are the African plate, Antarctic plate, Eurasian plate, Indo-Australian plate, Pacific plate, North American plate, that's 5 and 6, and South American plate. So this is what I want you to understand. An earthquake is a sudden, very strong shaking of the ground. Can happen at any time without no warning. Quake is made up of tectonic plates, and there are 7 major plates. There are 7 major plates. They underline up to there. You start at an earthquake and you stop at 7 major plates. Pause the video, ensure you get the area calculator to underline and underline. When you're finished underlining it, then you continue. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What we are going to underline now is, so you stop at plates and you're going to underline it. Okay, so that covers it. So the sentence should actually be, there are 7 major plates that cover it. All right. Now these 7 plates are, and you're going to underline all of them. All of this. So you underline all of this. All of it. All right. Good. Now the illustration below, so clear that. The illustration below tells us where the plates are located. Now listen carefully. If you have not yet done so, listen carefully to the instruction that I'm going to give. You are going to get crayons. because we are not at school, I won't be able to take the crayons to you. But you will need to find crayons. Well, I prefer you don't use markers because it's going to smudge the other side of the page. And you're going to look for the major plates. There are 7 of them, and you're going to shade them with 7 different colors. All right, so look at my cursor carefully. Look at my cursor carefully. All of this area right here, all of this area is a North American plate. You're going to underline, you're going to not underline, you're going to shade this in one color. You're going to shade all of this. See my cursor? I'm going to shade all of this in another color. You're going to do all of this in the 3rd color, all of this in the 4th color, all of this in the 5th color. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then you're going to do, not finish it. Let's put it up on this one. Then you're going to do all of this. So this area here, all of this area here, and this area over here must be one color. So we have 1 color here, 2 color here, 3 color here, 4 color here, 5 color here. This and this make 6 color. And then you're going to do all of here, the 7th color. That would account for the 7 tectonic plates, right? So to ensure that you do that. Why that is important for you to do is that you will definitely see this in your exams. What you will not see in your exam is that you will not see the name. So you won't see North American plate, you won't see Pacific plate, you won't see African plate. The divisions will be there, but you won't see the names. And you will be asked to identify whether it is the North American plate and the Euro-Asian plate, and you're going to color it. That's going to happen in the exam. It's important that you do this activity. All right, moving along. So along with these major plates, there are smaller ones that can be located beside the major. The Caribbean falls on the boundary of the North American and South American plate. This means that both major plates have a direct impact on the region, and geologists feel that the Caribbean is like formation. They're going to underline for me now. They're going to underline. There are smaller plates that are located alongside the major plates. Underline that sentence. Then you underline Caribbean. Underline all of this sentence right here. Right. To underline the Caribbean falls on the boundary of the North American and South American plate. This means that both major plates have a direct impact on the region. So you're going to underline that for me. Good. Moving along. Plates that form the Earth crust move a little. Small. You're going to underline now. Small movements in the Earth. Small movement is called Earth tremor. Underline that. A bigger movement is an earthquake, and some earthquakes do a lot of that. You underline all of them. All right. So Jamaica lies, keep underlining. Jamaica lies has several fault lines, and sometimes the earth moves along the fault. Okay. And then we have there that in 1692, Port Royal was destroyed by a earthquake, and more than 2,000 people were killed. And then another one in 1907, many buildings in downtown Kingston were destroyed by an earthquake. And then you're going to also see that in 1993, people felt an earthquake in many parts of the island. It was not very strong, did not do much damage. It happened on January 13. It is now celebrated as Earthquake Awareness Week. So you're going to write that January 13, underline January 13. January 13 is celebrated as Earthquake Awareness. So that's what you underline here. And below that is a diagram of the earthquake. All right, and on the diagram, you notice you have the epicenter. That's plate boundary, but we are not focused on plate boundary. All right, we just focus on it right here. So we have the epicenter, we have the focus, and we have the shock waves. So the focus, underline the focus, and then you underline, this is the point of origin where the earthquake begins. This is the point of origin of the earthquake. All right, the point at which the tearing of the earth crust originates. So you just basically need to underline is the point where the earthquake begins. One moment, please. So sorry about that. Then we continue. Then the epicenter, underline the epicenter. Ever underline that. That's my phone ringing. I'm just stopping my phone. All right, and then you're going to underline the point on the Earth's surface where the seismic waves or shock waves first reach. Underline all of that. That's the epicenter. Underline that. Good. Let me go back now to the diagram. So this is where the earthquake starts. And then all of these lines you see going around here. So these are what we call shock wave, but the epicenter. So the wave moves up. So this is the Earth's surface right up here. So the point at where the wave, shock wave reach the Earth's surface is called the epicenter. All right. And then the third one we have are the shock waves. Underline the shock waves. Underline also called seismic waves. And you underline these are the waves that travel through the Earth's layers as a result of quake. Underline all of that. And we are talking about all of these. These lines you see here, these are the shock waves. So when an earthquake occurs, these are what you feel that causes you to shake. All right. So what we are going to do now is that how are earthquakes detected and measured? So when an earthquake occurs, it generates seismic waves. So when an earthquake occurs, it generates seismic waves, which radiates away from the ruptured point like waves on a pond. All right. But also traveling downward through the earth. Scientists can detect and measure these vibrations at great distances. Don't want to underline all of that. Underline Stafford pond. Stafford pond. So this is like when you take a stone and you throw it on a water surface and you see the ripple effect. That's the impression that they are saying that you have there. All right. Let's move along quickly. So when an earthquake occurs, a seismograph, also called a seismometer, is an instrument that is used to detect and record earthquakes. That's what it does. It's a seismograph that we use to detect and to record earthquakes. All right. We move along. Watch you know. So that is important. The other area you can read for yourself. Underline that. Then we go to here now. Richter scale. The seismograph, that instrument is important for you to remember. The Richter scale is not pronounced Richter. It's a German word. Richter. Rick, like R-I-K-T-E-R. Richter. That's how it is pronounced. So the Richter scale is a scale. Let's go again. The Richter scale is a scale which is used for measuring how severe or how strong the earthquake is. All right. This is calculated using information gathered by the seismograph. Underline that sentence form, those two sentences form. So the seismograph detects the earthquake, all right, and it records the earthquake. But the Richter scale is used to measure how strong the earthquake is, all right. And there you have the diagram on the in front of you right there, all right. So we're going up to the last section of it now. All right, so says the underline, so the Richter scale is a logarithmic, meaning that the whole number jumps indicate a tenfold increase. All right. In this case, the increase is in wave amplitude. That is, the wave amplitude in a level 6 earthquake is 10 times greater than a level 5 earthquake, and the amplitude measures 100 times between level 7 earthquake and a level. But that's just information. You know, you want to remember for only what we underline is what you need to. What are the precautions that we take when before an earthquake strikes? Remember, the key is before the earthquake strikes. One, objects such as a cylinder. In other words, right now when we don't have an earthquake, these are the things that we are supposed to do. But we don't know an earthquake can strike at any time. All right. So one, we have to ensure that gas cylinders, water heaters, and shelves that could fall, that they are securely put in place. So objects, so we underline that they are held securely in place with brackets. So underline so that when the shaking starts, all right, they are held in firm. They don't topple over. That is, toppling over that causes harm. All right. Number two, hanging plants should be placed in plastic pots or baskets instead of earthenware pots or glassware pots, and they should be hung securely. All right. So if you're putting them on the roof of your veranda, for example, well, when the earthquake is coming, they can swing. In the case that they fall, right? They don't cut anybody, they don't damage anybody. All right. So there's plastic pots or basket. Heavy vases and furniture should be placed on low shelves or on the floor. Why is that so? Because the center of gravity is lower. So when they fall, they don't fall from a height and come down there. The higher the distance is the more damage it will cause when it falls, the more hurt it will cause when it falls. Thing is placed on the ground. All that will happen is topple. All right. And number four, sorry, not yes, and number four. Remember now we are looking before hurricane strikes. Things that we should be practicing now. Stock up on emergency supplies. Like the hurricane, stock up on emergency supplies, including well-stocked first aid kit. So every home must have a first aid kit. Every home should have batteries, battery radio, battery flashlight. There's a need for a wrench, right? Wrench in case you need to pull, all right, or unlock something, all right. These should be kept. So all of these you should have them handy. Underline that, you should have them handy. Good. Now, things to remember when an earthquake strikes, all right, and we're almost done. So things to remember when an earthquake strikes. Number one, you keep calm. Underline that. Always keep calm. Many persons get hurt in an earthquake because they panic. Always keep calm. And at Via Technical High School, we have our drills. So when it is the time to do the drill, take it seriously. Don't joke it around, because those drills are what will save you in the event of an earthquake. Number two, if you're inside, go on a strong doorway, on a table or desk, protect your head and feet on the line of that. Number three, stay away from glass doors, windows, and shelves. So if the building starts to shake, don't run to the window. Don't run out to look to see what is happening out there, right? You find the door jam, go between the door jam, go under a bed, go under a table, a sturdy bed, a sturdy table, all right? Watch out for falling objects and masonry work. It's like plasters and stuff. Watch out for that. Cover your face, like that. If you're in a car, a truck, or a van, right? Drive away from buildings, high-rise buildings. Let's go now. So you're in a motor vehicle, drive away from a high-rise building, drive away from utility poles, move away from bridges and underpass. Stop in a place that is safe, like a clear place, like a common, an open space, an open area, away from all these things, because these things can fall and hurt. To stay away from utility poles, because you can become electrocuted. Finally, as we bring this to a close, what do we do after the earthquake? Do not touch wires. Underline that. Do not touch wires. Do not touch wires. Common sense is that if you see fallen wires, you report it. Don't touch it, report it. All right. Watch out for fire. So watch for fires and do not light fires or use any open flame. It is possible that there may be fumes around the place. All right. turn off the gas if you did not do so before the hurricane, turn it off, right? And turn off the electrical supplies. Take off the breaker switch, right? Don't even go, don't spend time trying to plug out electrical socket. Turn the switches off. Go find out, you must know where your breaker panels are. In the case of an emergency, you can go there and you lick off the switch. You start by licking off the main switch, which is usually the biggest switch. It's usually a double switch, the biggest one. If you don't know, ask your parents to show you, right? Use battery powered radio to get emergency bulletin. Check your house for structural damage and evacuate if necessary. So if you see cracks developing in your home, right? Get out of the house. Have somebody come and look at it, right? Because the structure will be weakened, and you need a structural engineer to come and look at it. All right. So that means it can fall at any time. Be prepared for additional shocks. With every major earthquake, we have what we call aftershocks. So beside this now, this is what I want you to write here. So right here, so I want to write here, it says be prepared for additional shocks. I want to write, these are called, AF after SHOTK. These are called aftershocks. All right. So write that in there. That you're right. You're going to write that this one. You'll be prepared for after. Oh, sorry about that. Be prepared for aftershock. All right. And then the last one says, above all, try not to panic. It takes us back to the very first one. Be calm. Try not to panic. You can give assistance to first. All right. So underline that. So this brings us to the end of our second. Oh, and have at the bottom, the hazards and disasters can affect everyone. Be your neighbor's keeper, but never put yourself in harm's way. That is important. Always be your brother's keeper, but you make sure you protect yourself. All right. Thank you for watching. This brings us to the end of our second presentation on natural disasters and hazards. I trust that it was helpful for you. Remember, when you're preparing for your exams, you focus only on those areas that we have highlighted and whatever little additional you got. Have a great day, everyone, and see you at our next sitting.